Matt Damon once said in a commercial for a crypto company that is now bankrupt, fortune favors the bold. Today, we are going to give you 5 bold predictions for the start of the 2024 through 2025 college football season, which is already underway after that great game on Saturday where Georgia Tech got the best of Florida State. More on that here in just a second. But I got some spicy takes that we're going to give you. You're not going to agree with all of them, but that's okay. Diversity, am I right? We'll go over all those here in just a bit. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. If you're like me and enjoyed that upset of the Florida State Seminoles by Georgia Tech, everybody in the office, especially producer Reed, really loved it. He's a Florida State alum, so we're just giving him a hard time. If you loved what you saw, like the video. Thank you, Georgia Tech. Florida State, man, what a rough go, right? Miss out of the playoff, get shellacked by Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Now you're losing to Georgia Tech in Ireland. Man, some great days for Florida State as of late. Like the video, we'll get started with today's show. Let's begin with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yes, Bama, we're coming after you with our first bold prediction of 2024. I believe that the Alabama Crimson Tide will lose 4 or more games this season. And I know what some of you are thinking. What? Alabama? They have been the program in college football for the last 2 decades. They have been the program that everybody wants to mold themselves after and be. But now they enter a new era. Post Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer steps in. Kalen DeBoer's never even lost 4 games in a season in his coaching career, dating back to his time at Washington and at Fresno State at the FBS level. But here's why I think this is going to take some time when it comes to Kalen DeBoer and this Alabama program. They lost a total of 39 players on scholarship or walk-ons, either one, to the transfer portal in the winter and spring portal windows. That is not going to be fixed overnight. I do think Kalen DeBoer was a great hire, and I think he's the right man for the job with the Alabama Crimson Tide down the line. But this is going to take some adjusting. There's going to be an adjustment period here for this Alabama Crimson Tide program. And you think, too, Nick Saban only won 6 games in his first year at Alabama. So although it wouldn't feel right to some if Alabama only wins 8 games this year, it doesn't mean that all hell is breaking loose, that I think they're going to be just fine. So things start to really get interesting for Bama when you go to the 3rd week of the regular season when they travel to Wisconsin on Big Noon Saturday. Then a couple of weeks later, it is a primetime game against Georgia at home on Saturday Night Football at ABC. Then we shift gears to one of the best rivalries in college football. It's the 3rd Saturday in October tradition between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Tennessee Volunteers. That game in Knoxville this year. And then after that, they turn around and play Mizzou, who's coming off the best season they've had in quite some time there to end the month of October. And it's an interesting stretch in November. You play at LSU. You then, a couple of weeks play at Oklahoma. And then, of course, it is the Iron Bowl with Auburn as well. This time they get it home. So not a favorable schedule for the Crimson Tide here in 2024. So with my prediction, obviously, I think Alabama's not making the playoff this year. What do you guys think? Will Alabama make the playoff this year or not? Y for yes, in for no. Way in the comment section. Tell us what you think. Folks, we are ramping up the college football content here on College Football Now as we have news and rumors. We're going to be doing some live shows, could potentially be live for certain games this season as well. If you want more college football content, you got to subscribe. If we can get 20 or more subscribers off today's show, send a message loud and clear to our bosses. We'll bring you even more college football content than ever before. College football, NFL, NBA, it's all right here on College Football Now. Sub it up, youtube.com/chatsportstv to subscribe now for free. Number 2 on our bold predictions. Let's head out to Salt Lake City. The University of Utah enters their first season in the Big 12 Conference. And while I expect it to be a very successful season for Utah, their first year in the Big 12, I do think it will be the last season for Kyle Whittingham as the Utes head coach. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying that he's going to get fired. Far from it by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think he's resigning because the team struggles. In fact, I have them winning the Big 12 and making the college football playoff. But think about the situation that's going on right now. Whittingham is already 65 years old. This is likely Cam Rising's last season. More on that here in just a second, despite him having eligibility next year. And they've already named Whittingham's successor. Morgan Scaley, their defensive coordinator, has been named the coach in waiting and is in position to take that role once Kyle Whittingham retires. So with that in mind, you'd have to think that the days are numbered of how much longer Whittingham's going to be in Utah, especially with this ever-changing landscape of college football. How much longer does Kyle Whittingham want to be around? Brent McMurphy of the Action Network tweeted this out a while back. Utah quarterback Cam Rising is eligible to return for an 8th year of football next season. I asked him if he'll be back in 2025. That's not the plan. 7 years is more than enough. So for me, that's what I'm looking at. I think this is kind of the last hoorah, the last ride, the last dance, if you will, for Cam Rising and Kyle Whittingham there at Utah. The Utes enter the 2024 season as the favorites in the Big 12 Conference preseason media poll with 20 first-place votes. Kansas State with 19 first-place votes, while the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who were in the Big 12 title game last year, lost to Texas in third with 14 place votes. My team, the Kansas Jayhawks, they got 5 first-place votes. They're in fourth. And then the Arizona Wildcats, which are a very intriguing team, their first year in the league, picked to finish 5th. Iowa State in 6th, got a good young quarterback in Rocco Beck, leading things under center there. Number 7, West Virginia, was in a fluky year for Neil Brown and company last year. That remains to be seen. 8, we find the UCF Golden Knights, and Gus Malzahn has done a really good job with that program. Will they take another step forward? 9, we find Texas Tech. A lot of pressure on Joey McGuire there with the Red Raiders. 10, TCU. Will Sonny and company get back to their winning ways after a 5-7 season, a year removed from getting to the national championship game the year prior? And then rounding out the final 6 spots in the Big 12 Conference, we find Colorado at number 11 with Shedeur Sanders, Coach Prime, and company there. Maybe the most talked about team in the Big 12 this year. 12, the Baylor Bears. 13, BYU. And then the final 3 spots belonging to Cincinnati, as well as Houston and Arizona State there for the final 3 spots in the Big 12 media poll. So with that, Utah, the favorites, I think it's the right pick, but it's going to be a fun year, I think, in America's conference, the deepest conference in college football this year, the Big 12. More to come here on College Football Now in just a moment, but first, today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for last-minute tickets, the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. They have this new thing called Super Deals. They also have seat views so you can check out the seat for yourself, see what that seat is like. This weekend, I'm going to see some college football myself. Headed out to Vegas for the Vegas Kickoff Classic between USC and LSU, and you better believe I'm getting my tickets on Game Time, folks. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time! Oh, link is in the comments and description of today's video. All right, number 3, let's turn our attention to Boomer Sooner. The Oklahoma Sooners, their first year in the Southeastern Conference. I think OU makes the college football playoff this year. And this is going to be a fascinating season for Oklahoma. They're coming off a 10-win campaign that, for whatever reason, everybody seems to have forgotten about when it comes to OU. How convenient, right? With all these comparisons from the haters and the losers out there that say, oh, OU's going to be the next Nebraska and all this, that they're going to go by the wayside entering the SEC, kind of like Nebraska did in the Big Ten. What are you talking about? This has been one of the most successful programs in all of college football for decades. Nobody has won more football games in college football since World War II, since the University of Oklahoma. It just means more now. Now, they have the second toughest schedule in the SEC, the eighth toughest schedule in college football, according to USA Today, but they have been so consistent. And you think about Brent Venables. I know this is his third season. He took tremendous strides from what he did year one, only winning 6 games. OU's won 9+ games in 9 of their last 10 seasons. And with their tough schedule, 9 wins might even be good enough to make a college football playoff spot potentially. I think OU wins 10, though. Here's a look at some of their top matchups this year. They face Tennessee at home. Josh Heupel making his return to Norman, where he won a national title as the quarterback for the Sooners. But he used to be their OC and was fired, and this is his first game back since being fired there. Meanwhile, you play Auburn a week later for OU's first ever SEC road contest. And then, of course, it's the Red River Shootout in Dallas against the University of Texas, and that's going to be an afternoon contest this year. No 11 a.m. kick there. Then you follow that up a couple weeks later with a trip to Oxford to take on Ole Miss. We're going to talk about Ole Miss coming up in just a bit. I really like that Rebels team. Then you play Mizzou on the road, an old Big 8 rivalry between these two teams. You play Alabama at home a couple weeks later, and then OU ends the regular season facing LSU in Baton Rouge there on Thanksgiving weekend. Do you believe in Sooner magic? What do you guys think? Are you all in on the Sooners? Can they make the college football playoff this year? Type B for believe, D for don't. Way in the comment section. Tell us what you think. Let's stay in the SEC now, and we turn our attention to the Ole Miss Running Rebels. And I got to tell you, I'm very high on this Ole Miss team in 2024. I think Ole Miss is going to make their first ever Southeastern Conference title game appearance. And we've seen Lane Kiffin talk a lot about coming to the SIP, and he's done a really good job, the Lane train has, of bringing guys on board. Ole Miss had the number 1 transfer portal class in college football this past offseason, according to 24/7 Sports, with 25 commits, including Walter Nolan out of Texas A&M, who they got to come within their league and should be a difference maker. But you look at some of these top players. Jackson Dart, I think, is maybe the most underrated quarterback in all of college football. I think he's going to have a big year. Trey Harris is really good. You got Bentley at that running back position as well, another solid player. Walter Nolan, I think, has got a great shot to be the defensive player of the year in the SEC. But that defensive line as a whole, that's the difference for this Ole Miss team of what we've seen with Ole Miss, traditionally speaking, under Lane Kiffin. They can score a lot of points, but haven't been able to play a lot of defense. With Princely and Ivy and these guys, along with Nolan, they're going to be able to hang with anybody defensively, and that's going to be a huge difference for Lane Kiffin there in the SEC this season. So, want to hear from you guys. Give us your bold prediction for the college football season. I've given you a few so far. I got one more to get to, but want you guys to weigh in. Let us know in the comments section what your bold prediction is. Last on our list for bold predictions for the 2024 campaign, let's turn our attention to the ACC. Well, after Florida State lost to Georgia Tech, they were the favorites. Seems like this league is pretty wide open now. I got to tell you, I'm not taking Miami. I'm not taking Clemson. I'm not taking Florida State. Give me the Hokies to win the ACC and to get a first-round bye and a top 4 bid in the college football playoff. And let me explain why. There is some sneaky good talent on this Virginia Tech roster this year. Kyron Drones at the quarterback position, I think, is a hell of a quarterback. He's very shifty, does a really good job outside the pocket. Folks, if you haven't played college football 25 yet as Virginia Tech, whatever you do, stop what you're doing tonight and check out this team with Drones at quarterback. They're a lot of fun. The offense with some good weapons. You got Tootin at the running back position. I like the Jennings kid at the wide receiver spot. Moore and Clements are both projected to be all ACC offensive linemen. And then you look at the defense, and this group is going to be very physical with what they have at the defensive line with Powell Ryland, also with Pebbles on the defensive line coming into the fold as well. A couple of good corners in the mix with Strong and Delaney. I mean, there's some good players in this Virginia Tech team. I'm very intrigued. And the schedule does them some pretty good favors as well. They only face 2 teams ranked in the preseason AP Top 25. They do not face Florida State in the regular season. Obviously, if they win the ACC, they'd have to play in an ACC championship game. But you get Clemson at home and you play at Miami, and the non-conference isn't that bad either. Watch out. I think this Virginia Tech team is going to surprise some people, and we'll see the best football we've seen from them since the Beamer Bowl days. If you enjoyed today's show, if you enjoyed that Florida State loss on Saturday, like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time here on College Football Now.